What is up, my friends, and how's it going? And welcome back to the 25th and final episode of our Let's Play series as Roma with your fellow comrade. It has been a long awaited finale, so let's go ahead and turn off all the notifications and I will run you by what we achieved in the previous episode. In the previous episode we invaded Magna Germania, taking over the settlements of Flavum, Tulifordum. We also invaded Hercynia, taking over Uburzes, Bodorigum, as well as we managed to conquer Iliomontum. We have gone ahead and renamed all of these provinces, and as well as that we have managed to conquer Dacia as well, which is basically Ulpia, Traiana, Sarmi, Zekutsa, as well as Drobeta and Romula. Meanwhile, we have established our Elbe River Carpathian mountain front, and as such we have a very defensible border against the Germanic tribes to the north. And speaking of the Germanic tribes to the north, we have gone ahead and basically splintered them from the Swabi and the RE, and therefore we have a lot of military alliances up in the north. Meanwhile, in Sarmatia, the Scythian tribes are busy fighting each other for dominance, which is exactly what we want. We want all of these tribes to fight each other and basically not focus on us. Pretty much in Hibernia and Caledonia, as mentioned, we have conquered the entirety of the islands. Therefore, we no longer have a Pictish threat to our northern border in Britannia. However, that being said and done, let us quickly hop into the campaign. And we have characters that can level up, so let's go ahead and level them up. And we even have the Admiral of Classes 2 Italica Ferox that has leveled up, so we can go ahead and level him up as well. Apart from that, we don't have any other characters that we can level up, and as you can tell, our economy is looking really solid. We're making 379,000 denarii per turn. We have 13.3 million denarii in our treasury, which is more than what we started with prior to the civil war. So our economy has fully bounced back. And if we look at the provinces, as you can see, Asia is leading the pack with 233,000 denarii per turn. Meanwhile, Egyptus is making 204,000 denarii per turn. Latium itself is making 185,000 denarii per turn at third place. Meanwhile, Africa Proconsularis is making 156,000 denarii per turn. And finally, we have Achaia itself making 148,000 denarii per turn. As far as our food provinces are concerned, as you can see over here, basically Britannia is making 101 food per turn, which is absolutely insane. I had estimated between 80 to 90, but Britannia is making 101 food. Meanwhile, Sicilia is making 66 food. Africa Proconsularis, which is an economic agricultural province, is making 39 food per turn. Meanwhile, the Bosphorus is making 37. So if you can see, Britannia is almost making the same amount of food as our other three food provinces. However, that being said and done, we have gone ahead and leveled up all of our characters, making sure that they are pretty much really high up as far as taxation rate is concerned. Meanwhile, we have gone ahead and also deployed all of our legionaries on the new Elbe River Carpathian mountain front. As you can see over here, we have a legion, Legio 18 Gallica, garrisoning Flavum. Apart from that, we have a Legio 19 garrisoning Bergian, and we have Legio 17 Germanica garrisoning Iliomontum. And these were the three legions that were wiped out at Teutoburg, so we have a bit of an alternative reality in which they had succeeded in their campaigns under the guidance of Augustus himself and managed to establish that frontier. So now they are basically garrisoning the front, and we are kind of doing that further by moving Legio 7 Claudia Pia Fidelis to garrison Ulpia, Traiania, Sarmi, Zegutsa. Meanwhile, we even have Legio 13 Gemina, guarding Odysseus. So everything seems to be pretty fine on our frontier. We have about 5 legions protecting the entire frontier, and If you remember, prior to conquering the Elbe River Carpathian mountain range, we had all of these 3 legions just protecting the Rhine River. So as you can see right now, it's become a lot easier. If we go into our tactical map, maybe we can see our legions. It's become a lot easier to protect our borders. As you can see, pretty much this legion over here, Legio 7 Claudio Pio Fidelis, can quickly react to any invasions over here in this vicinity. Meanwhile, Odysseus can protect over here, as well as here. Meanwhile, we have Legio 17 Germanica that can protect this way, and we even have Legio 19 that can protect this way, covering this region. And finally, we have Flavum that can cover this region. So it's become very easy to protect our northern frontier. Apart from that, we are also relocating some of our legions towards their historical garrison location. So Legio 20 Valeria Victrix was actually stationed in Britannia, so we're going to try to send him all the way up to Londinium. Meanwhile, we even have the famous Legio 14 Gemina that was famous at the Battle of Watling Street, defending against over 10 times their numbers and actually coming out on top. So as far as the most illustrious victories are concerned for the Roman legions, Legio 14 Gemina is right up there. Meanwhile, we even have Legio 5 Macedonica in Aegyptos, which was the longest lasting legion of the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire, I'm sorry. That was based in Egypt when it was last recorded, and that was pretty much before the Arab conquests of Aegyptos from the Romans. However, that being said and done, we are also moving Legio 3 Kyrenaicae towards its settlements. And meanwhile, let's have a very quick look at all of our provinces and see what we can level up. We are building a lot of supply pits in order to keep our front lines supplied, and in order to prevent them from taking any attrition. However, that being said and done, let us go ahead and hop into the objective of this episode, which is pretty much to take out Parthia. We are going to take Mesopotamia for ourselves, thereby securing that land bridge with the Mauryans and re-establishing our trade, as the trade agreement between ourselves and the Mauryans got cancelled eventually due to the disconnect of the trade route. And by securing Mesopotamia, we can secure our trade with the Mauryan Empire. Meanwhile, we're going to try to release all of these factions over here to pretty much try to make Parthia out of existence. And up in the north, we are going to pretty much do the same thing. And in order to do that, we're just going to have a very quick look at our legions in the vicinity that are available to us. And we have Legio 2 Italica that we can move towards Edessa, move it closer towards attacking. Meanwhile, we have Legio 2 Parthica, and these guys can make an attack on Hatra. We also have Legio 2 Italica under the command of Marcus Agrippa with that famous Ala Gallorum Epaninorium Cataphracta. And meanwhile, in Armenia, we have Legio 7 Gemina ready to push into Mara. We also have Legio 15 Primigenia also ready to push into Mara. We have Legio 2 AETERNA also going to be pushing into Mara. Apart from that, we have Legio 1 AETERNA or kind of going to help push into Sarmatia. I believe it's Scythia actually. Up here we even have Legio 4 Flavia Felix. They will be helping Legio 1 Minerva push into Scythia. However, let's go ahead and move our legions around. We should take a trespassing penalty. And we have a couple of Parthian armies over here. We have a really big Parthian stack right over here. I'm gonna deploy to get a line of sight of what kind of units it is. Thankfully, it's not a Horse Archer Doom stack by the looks of it. And we have another army over here as well. Meanwhile, in the Mesopotamian region itself, we don't really have a lot of armies, so things are looking pretty good over there. Let's go ahead and quickly just sabotage the settlement to get some reconnaissance going on. And there we go, we can see a lot more Parthian armies. Okay, Over here we have no idea of the army composition over there. The Morians are pretty strong, in a decent position, and Parthia doesn't have a lot of armies, so when we declare this war against Parthia, we will be pretty much getting a lot of support from all of our allies. We have a plethora of allies, and if we go to the diplomatic map, as you can see, we have a lot of allies, but the most important allies are of course going to be the Mauryan Empire in the vicinity, and of course even Muscat might play a role in this war against Parthia. However, that being said and done, let us jump right into the war against Parthia, and we are going to go ahead, declare the war directly so that we can call in our allies. However, let's go ahead and initiate our attack by attacking Frafsa. And we are going to march Legio 7 Gemina into the area, declaring the war, calling in all of our allies, and all of them have joined, which is fantastic, which will only serve to improve our diplomatic rating with them. However, we are also going to move Legio 2 Parthika towards Hatra. Keep in mind, Hatra is a Roman province in terms of culture, so we can just go ahead, auto-resolve this one, and peacefully occupy the settlement. There we go. And we are going to restructure the buildings over here. We are going to focus on... I don't think we can really build any... We kinda can, but these cavalry units are not all that fancy. So I'm inclined not to actually build them. I mean, these Parthian veterans are actually quite good as far as armor rating is concerned, but we don't really need to recruit any of them. So let's actually just focus on, dismantling all of the buildings and building some very regular barracks type buildings that will help with our population class. So that is pretty much what we need to do. We have a lot of third class population here, unfortunately. In Hatra, we want to focus on boosting our third class population, because we have a lot of second class population, which is pretty useless as far as replenishment is concerned. Meanwhile, let's move Legio 2 Italica towards Ctesiphon, which was historically the capital, and we are going to besiege it. Meanwhile, Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix under Imperator Augustus can move towards Charax, and we are going to go ahead and attack Charax in the coming turns. Meanwhile, over here, down at Frafsa, we're gonna go ahead, auto-resolve this one. We don't really need to fight it, and we are going to liberate the faction. Fantastic. So now we can replenish within their territory, and in the next turn we can even attack Ganzak. However, that being said and done, maybe this army can actually reach Frafsa. We gotta be a little bit wary of that. But what we are going to do is we are gonna get a trade agreement with Mada, and we're gonna ask them to join the war against Parthia. It's gonna be quite low. However, maybe if I offer them a payment, they will accept. And just like that, now we have yet another faction at war with Parthia. Meanwhile, let's keep moving our spies deeper into Parthian territory, and we can go ahead and just auto-resolve the siege of Ctesiphon. I mean, I could fight it out, but it's pretty much a garrison, so it's not going to be that deadly towards us. And by going ahead and doing that, we can go ahead, level up all of the buildings. Definitely want to get this building that will give me a boost to my third class population. Meanwhile, we have this building as well. We can build over there, build that, dismantle this, and build that. Excellent. So with that, as you can see, we have already made our incursions into Parthia, and very soon we should be able to link up with the Morians. We have another Parthian stack over here. It's fairly low, so it shouldn't be able to do any significant damage to our Mauryan allies, and that's basically what will trouble us during this episode. If in case Parthia gets the upper hand against Moria, then we ourselves will just have simply more to take away from Parthia. However, that being said and done, I am done with the turn, so I'm going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. some of our characters have increased in rank. We are nearly making 400,000 denarii per turn. Our economy is still rising. Meanwhile, we have a few characters that have come off rank, so let's go ahead and improve their ranks. Over here, we can go for the gravitas as well as the diplomatic rating. Meanwhile, the lictor of Arretium, we can pretty much do the same, improve the diplomatic rating so that all of our allies stay very friendly with us, and we basically counteract a lot of that expansionism debuff to our rating. That being said and done, we have completely leveled up all of our characters. Let's have a very quick look at our provinces. And these are the new provinces that we need to focus on, so let's go ahead and build up over there. Perfect. Meanwhile, our other provinces seem to be fine. Alright, perfect. And pretty much at the end of this episode, I am going to go through each and every single individual province and explain to you how I set them up. Basically, you know, the different types of provinces that I have and how did I go ahead and set them up. Meanwhile, we could technically even dismantle this building over here in favor of, and I am actually going to do that, in favor of a grain building that will increase our food production. Although we don't really need it, it will be kind of useful to showcase at the end of the episode just how you can optimize your builds. Meanwhile, let's have a very quick look at our campaign and how much we can push. We have a legion over here that is fully replenished, and what we are going to do is we are going to push towards Ecbatana. The army over here has moved towards Frafsa, so that is a little bit concerning, however not too concerning. Meanwhile, this army over here, we are not entirely sure what their makeup is, so we are going to go ahead and get our spy closer to that area, and maybe we can just sabotage the settlement. It has failed, but we can still see what's inside the settlement. So we have a bunch of horse archers, some cataphract type units, and these are Nicaean cavalry, so pretty much it's going to be a difficult fight. We might actually have to fight that one. However, let's sabotage this settlement, and that has also failed, so we're going to move further east, sabotage that settlement. We should have a very good chance to do that, and that has also failed. However, as you can see, we have quite a lot of Parthians in the region over here, so we might have quite a lot to fight over here. Meanwhile, let us quickly see if we can perhaps attack Ecbatana, but I'm not entirely sure if that is the right course of action for now. Let us actually move towards Ganzak. And what we are going to do up here is we are going to move this army down towards Frafsa to kind of defend it, and we are going to move Legio 15 Primigenia to attack Ganzak, and we might actually fight that one. I'm not entirely sure. We can move another army somewhere over here. I mean, I wouldn't want to attack that army. It does have a lot of horse archers, and we kind of don't have horse archers, so that could be a little bit problematic. We need to get actually Legio 2 Parthia into the fight, and Legio 2 Parthia I believe should be here, so let's actually go ahead and do that. We get Legio 2 Parthia close enough to Ganzak, and in the next turn we can perhaps even attack the Truth of Mitra. Meanwhile, up here in the north in Sarmanda, we can just simply go ahead, easily auto-resolve this one, and we can liberate the faction over there. Should be able to give us a lot of replenishment. We have some Parthian armies up here. We're going to try to intercept them. We are also going to move a Legio 4 Flavia Felix up north in an attempt to intercept them. We have Legio 1 AETERNA, which we can move up north this way in order to intercept this Parthian army. However, that being said and done, we can attack Ra and Daix in the coming turns. But before we go ahead and do that, let us quickly establish a trade agreement and ask them to join the war against Parthia, which they will be on pretty high, so we have a lot more attacking Parthia. Meanwhile, just a quick look of what the Maurya Samraja is actually doing towards the Parthians, and they aren't really doing much. However, we can even attack Susa, which is kind of interesting. Meanwhile, I just want to check if this army can reach us. It cannot, so I think that will be the right move. We will try to expand further southwards. Go ahead, attack Charax with this army under Imperator Augustus. Meanwhile, we can move Legio 1 Italica towards Susa and go ahead and attack and liberate the faction. So there we go. Quick auto-resolve over here. Liberate the faction. We should be able to replenish. And because we can replenish... That was close. Because we can replenish, we're going to go on that patrol stance. Have a quick look over here. Try to sabotage that settlement. And okay, we've got even better line of sight of what's going on over here. Perfect. What we want to do is even call this faction into the war against Parthia. It's on high. Join the war against Parthia, please. They will not join, however. Maybe we can offer a payment to them. And now they have joined. So slowly but surely Parthia is getting more and more enemies. And this should really put them on the back foot. However, that being said and done, I could potentially just move all the way up here. I have Legio Force Scitica, and it is actually catered towards fighting against nomadic horse archer armies. So we are going to attempt to kind of move all the way towards Ra, and we should be able to get there in the next turn. However, what I can also do over here is kind of send Legio 15 Apollinaris into the port of Tenace, and they should be able to push towards Daix, which is kind of great. And if we have Ra and Daix liberated, then we pretty much have secured the northern frontier against Parthia. But you can see slowly and surely Parthia is getting grinded down. However, that being said and done, let's go ahead and actually attack this settlement. We're going to quick save over here, and maybe, just maybe, I think I have to fight this, but maybe it's not a very interesting fight, so I'm not going to showcase this battle. Pretty much just going to fight it, and then I will see you all after the battle is done. Alright, with that we have taken over Ganzak, and we are going to liberate the faction over there. We've taken quite a few casualties, not many, 199 in total. Mostly our auxiliary cavalry that got held out by a spear unit and a single cohort of Dacian swordsmen that got charged by some of their cataphract units. We lost some units due to that reason. However, for the most part, our army actually performed quite well against the Parthians. But let's go ahead and liberate the faction over here. This general has leveled up, so let's go ahead and give him the army traditions that he can use. Meanwhile, we are going to move a little bit ahead and try to protect over there. Fantastic. And we are going to even call in Ganzak, the faction of Ganzak, into the war against the Parthians. So let's see if they will join. They will join, and everything seems to be going quite well in our war against the Parthians. As you can see, we are mainly almost conquered Mesopotamia, and we have significantly cut them down to size. In the other regions, especially Scythia, we've started our invasion. However, in the coming turns, we're going to keep pushing our offensive into more Parthian territory. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Daughter has come of age. Some characters have increased in rank. Let's go ahead and quickly increase their ranks. And we definitely want to get these. Meanwhile, over here we have a dignitary that has leveled up, kind of. I mean, I don't know what we can exactly get over here. Let's get the industry. I mean, doesn't really matter. Meanwhile, a lectorum of Asculum has increased, so we can get that diplomatic bonus. Excellent. And we also have some generals of certain legions that have leveled up, so let's go ahead, give them the army range movement, as well as Legio to Augusta. We can go ahead and give him the replenishment. Excellent. And with that, we have leveled up all our characters. I'm not going to have a look at our provinces just yet, because of course this episode is kind of getting long, so we want to focus on trying our level best to finish up this episode real quick so that I can explain our provinces real quick. Meanwhile, we're going to auto-resolve the fight at Parsa and we're going to liberate this faction as well. I'm not entirely sure if I can trade with them, and I can't, but maybe I can get them to join the war against Parthia. It's pretty on low, so maybe if I offer a payment, they might join. Excellent. So we have yet another faction at war with Parthia. We're going to go ahead and put ourselves in a patrol stance. Go ahead towards Raga and deploy. Have a very quick look. We could attack Ekbatana if we can, but currently we have a little bit of an issue in doing so because we need to replenish, and in order to do that we can even move down south this way. The main thing is having to defeat these three armies over here. However, before we go ahead and deal with that problem situation, let us actually keep moving Legio 1 Minerva towards Dakes, and we can also move Legio 15 Apollinaris towards Dakes. So let's go ahead and try to do that. Meanwhile, these couple of legions can actually move down south because, you know, we have enough legions in the vicinity protecting, and can move even Legio 4 Flavia Felix back down. We can, with Legio 4 Scythica, move towards Ra, and Ra is undefended, which means in the next turn we should be able to liberate yet another faction over there. That being said and done, we have Augustus over here, and he can attack the port settlement. It's a very good auto-resolve, so let's actually just simply auto-resolve that one. And we're going to occupy peacefully Charax, which means we should be able to replenish because they will have some Roman culture going on for them. Let's go ahead and dismantle all of the buildings, and there we go. Meanwhile over here, what do we want? We want, I believe... Let's actually dismantle this, convert this over there. That, perfect. And we definitely want these buildings. Go ahead, demolish that. Perfect. So we're looking good. We have the entirety of Mesopotamia in our control, but of course the Parthians still exist. They have some armies in the region over here, few armies over there, which means we could potentially attack them. Meanwhile, the Mauryaans are taking over the province of Transoxiana, so that is good news for us. We technically don't have to move that deep into Parthia in order to take out their holdings in Transoxiana, which is pretty much what we want the Mauryaans to do. Focus heavily on the easternmost provinces of Parthia. Meanwhile, they can even attack Marv, Nisa and so forth. However, that being said and done, I think I'm ready to go ahead and attack the Truth of Mithra, which means we will still be in Ganzak. For some reason we are not replenishing over here. We should be able to, because we are allied with them. We do have a supply chain, so let's actually move this army down south over here, and we are also going to move Legio 2 Italica down south in the preparation to attack Ekbatana, and a little bit ahead. Excellent. Meanwhile, with this army, it's pretty full stack. The problem is they have several other armies that can attack my army even if I defeat this army. So what I am going to do is I'm going to try to reinforce this army once I complete my victory with Legio 2 AETERNA as well as Legio 7 Gemina, so that I can keep pushing up into Partava itself. Excellent. So let's just go ahead and fight this battle. It's going to be a very interesting battle. It's very even. Of course I could send all of my legions to deal with that, but where's the fun in that? So I'm going to quick save over here, and I will see you all in the battle. Alright, welcome to the Battle of Ganzak, or Gazaka. We are fighting against the Parthians, the first of our Parthian stacks. And straight off the bat, we have Legio 2 Parthica, and this is a very interesting legion. It has been spec'd to counter enemy horse archers, and what we are going to do is we're going to make a run for the tree line so that we have some protection against missile fire. Apart from that, we have a bunch of slingers in the back, Balearic slingers, and we don't have any skirmisher units. The main reason for slingers is so that they can counter enemy horse archers. Of course, behind them we have the core cohorts of Legio 2 Parthica itself. As you can see, they are an Imperial type cohorts, really nice looking unit, and of course the Eagle cohort all the way in the back with that famous Emisa mask. We have our general on the flank, and the most interesting thing that I will test out in this battle are the Numidian cavalry. So we do have Numidian auxiliary cavalry, and these guys are incredibly fast. They have a speed of 11, which means they should be able to catch up to any cavalry. As you can see, most of their cavalry has a speed of 6, so we are almost twice as fast as most of their cavalry. And straight off the bat, we begin the fight, and we kind of issue our slingers to start hitting their horse archers as quickly as you can. And you can see they are taking quite a lot of casualties, including of course the ballistae is hitting them, and slingers are going to perform really well against horse archers, and already we have gotten rid of one horse archer unit. Meanwhile, we do have, you know, some shock cavalry that is over here, and these guys are quite good. And actually they're horse archer types, but there is one shock cavalry that kind of charges into my unit. On the left flank, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to move my Numidians, and already you can see the speed difference of these Numidians. They are absolutely really fast, and on the right flank we're kind of trying to do the same. And over here what we're going to do is we're going to try to charge at this cav from all sides. We throw our precursor javelins, go ahead and charge really fast. We're able to get a charge on all directions. These cavalry are extremely powerful, and already one of the best cavalries of the Persians or the Parthians are suffering. As you can see, they are losing decisively. Meanwhile, all the way on the right flank, a cavalry unit has charged into the flank of our spearmen, so we have ordered our own cavalry to charge at this cavalry unit, and again you can see they are absolutely melting. So the Numidians are actually performing really well, and quickly move them out away from these spearmen. And as you can see, they are moving really fast. It might seem to most people that I'm playing on fast forward, but I am actually playing, as you can see in the bottom right corner, on normal speed, and that's just how fast these Numidians are. So these auxiliary Numidian cavalries are really good. Meanwhile, in the front lines, our troops have kind of engaged. I've already put them in that defensive formation so as to protect against missile fire and to be able to soak up more missile damage. Meanwhile, in the gaps I have put my regular cohorts so that these units cannot exploit the gaps and get to my more weaker Balearic slingers. Meanwhile, my Balearic slingers are slowly but surely targeting different units, different missile type units, and trying to get them to rout off the battlefield. As you can see, our Balearic slingers are doing really well against the enemy horse archer cavalry, and even though this cavalry is very heavily armored, they're going to take quite a lot of casualties and retreat. Meanwhile, what I end up doing is that now that I have complete cavalry superiority, I've decided to kind of encircle the enemy missile units and get rid of them once and for all. So we're charging on multiple fronts against the enemy missile units, and we're going to make sure that we never ever get caught by spearmen, because we have Numidian cavalry and they are incredibly fast, and they're easily able to jump in and out of fights. Over here we try to charge at this unit. Unfortunately, a spear unit gets in the way, so we quickly get out of the way, and just as quickly, just as easily they are able to get out of the way. We decide to charge that unit, but we pull out again because we don't want to get caught by spear units. But as you can see, we have hardly taken any casualties as the Numidian cavalry. They are so fast, they're able to easily escape these spear units, and these spear units really can't get a kill. Meanwhile, we're pulled out on our left flank, so we're going to try to see if we can get cleaner charges off against missile units that are isolated. And as far as the front line is concerned, as you can see, we are trying to slowly but surely encircle the enemy units from all sides, and pretty much try to win them with numerical superiority. Meanwhile, our Numidians not doing a bad job throwing their pila into the backs of the enemy units. So definitely I really love this cavalry. It's so incredibly fast, and they're going to get a charge off on this missile unit and completely demolish it. As you can see over here, a very good charge, and straight off the bat we're getting a lot of kills, and this unit should quickly rout. And meanwhile, on the right flank, this spear unit has kind of gone ahead and exposed a big bunch of their missile units. So we are going to, very tactfully select a single unit each and dedicate them to charging various different missile units over here, so that we can quickly route out and get clean charges on each and every single unit type. Meanwhile, on the left flank, the cavalry is also charging in, and this should pretty much make it so that most of the units quickly rout, as is what we want basically. And straight off the bat, you can see that things are not going so well for the Parthian army. This is very much in difference to what happened historically when Rome usually attacked Parthia. Now, realizing that, you know, I can support my front line, which hasn't taken a lot of casualties. They've taken about like 10 to 20% casualties. We're trying to exploit gaps in the front line and trying to, you know, attack the enemy units through those gaps. Meanwhile, as you can see all the way in the back, we have gotten rid of completely all of their missile units, and pretty much my Numidian cavalry is zooming around on the battlefield. That being said and done, I do believe it is time to use my Numidian cavalry to perform rear charges, so I line them up in order to perform those rear charges. And as you can see, because they are so quick, they get into formation really quickly, and I'm able to perform multiple rear charges really quickly and pretty much devastate the Parthian front line. Most of them are wavering, some of them will rout, which kind of gives me an advantage, and over here we're going to try to do the same thing. We're going to try to rout out. These are kind of professional Parthian heavy spears, so they are a lot difficult to deal with. However, you know, we perform multiple cycle charges, which are very easy to do as the Numidian cavalry. Just look at them, how quickly they get out of combat and how quickly they can jump right back into combat. I notice a missile unit approaching me, so I issue a couple of Numidian cavalry to kind of charge against that unit and pretty much wipe out that unit. But as you can see, for the most part, things are going really well for us. Meanwhile, their main line has decided to break off from our main line, so I decided to get out of defensive formation and pursue them. Meanwhile, over here I've decided to charge down that missile unit. It's just a Palkandar, which does not have really good abilities against cavalry units, so they should pretty much get absolutely destroyed over here, and they should completely break from the battlefield. Meanwhile, most of my units have gotten out of that defensive formation and have pushed forward to kind of pin down the enemy units. On the right flank, we are still cycle charging. As you can see, we're managing to get rid of some of the Parthian units. The main blob of Parthian units now is on that center right flank and slightly on the center left flank. And we are going to go ahead and use our Numidians to kind of wipe out as many of the troops as we can, give them a penalty of being outnumbered, and hopefully that should really demolish their morale. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our Numidians to hunt down various different types of units that are completely retreating, ensuring that not only will they never rejoin the battle, but we will also shift the balance of power heavily in our favor, and therefore destroy the morale of the remaining Parthians. So pretty much that's what's going on over here. Nothing much else to showcase really in this battle. We're pretty much very well managing this battle. We're microed it to perfection, and it's a lot easier to micro these battles when you have such fast moving cavalry. So as you can see, we are basically making the enemy completely waver, and since I'm using my cavalry to hunt down all of the retreating units, I decide to kind of move my infantry in order to encircle the last remaining cluster of enemy units over here on the center right flank, or currently on the right flank. That being said and done, I put my first cohort into the testudo formation because I kind of noticed that they were being targeted by enemy missile units, and as such, they still end up being in that testudo formation. As of now, I kind of could have gotten them out of it, and I kind of could have used my last line of legionary cohorts to assist with the fighting, but we are winning this battle just so easily that we don't even need our final line of reserves. Now, that being said and done, we are nearly into position to perform our flanking maneuver, so we go ahead and charge with as many units as we can, encircling this last cluster of Parthians. and pretty much we're going to do the same with the infantry units over here, and they are pretty much for the most part exhausted, shaken, and they're not going to survive a charge. Meanwhile, most of my units in the area, as you can see, they're pretty fresh because they have been fighting in that defensive formation. There we go, we issue the charge, and this charge should pretty much break all of the enemy units that are still fighting, and pretty much with that we should end up winning the battle quite easily. Alright, considering that ends up happening, what I end up doing is I try to, chase down many enemy units as the battle has ended and we have secured a decisive victory. We lost only about 500 to 600 men. Meanwhile, we killed about 7,000 Parthians, so that is really a crushing defeat for the Parthians and a really decisive and phenomenal victory for the Romans against a worthy adversary, if I should say so myself. However, you can just see how powerful these Numidian cavalries are against horse archers, as well as just how powerful our slinger units are towards these horse archers. Most of the slingers ended up getting an average of 150 to 200 kills. So they are absolutely critical in fights against horse archers. As you can see, most of these kills are actually in fact horse archer units. So considering we have 8 units of slingers, and if we take 150 kills per unit, you're talking about 300 times 4, that's 1,200 horse archer units killed just from your slingers. So that's pretty much all we need to completely destroy the horse archers. Meanwhile, of course, our ballistae is not going to be pulling a lot of kills because we are firing against much smaller units like horse archer units, but 299 is pretty respectable. Meanwhile, we can even check what our Numidian cavalry has managed to pull. Some of them, getting as high as 500 kills, but even the lowest units of Numidian cavalry getting about 250 kills, 290, 300 kills. So we're looking really good in that regard. And with that, I'm gonna end the battle, and I will see you all in the campaign. And with that, we have defeated our first Parthian full stack. It was a very decisive victory. We lost only 566 men. We performed much better than anticipated, and we managed to almost wipe out the entire Parthian army, leaving only the general behind. And while we didn't wipe out the entire army, I'm pretty happy leaving just a general behind, because that actually puts Parthia on the back foot significantly, because they will not get a new army slot that they can immediately start replenishing. That being said and done, let's go ahead and get some army traditions. I could potentially go ahead and attack over there, or I could move down south and attack Ecbatana even with this legion. So let's actually go down south, attack Ecbatana, and it should be a tough auto-resolve, but we are going to auto-resolve it. We are going to release the faction over here. Should be a military ally, which kind of means we should be able to replenish. Very quick look over here. These armies cannot reach to me, so that is absolutely fantastic. And definitely it's going to be really easy for us to keep pushing towards Raga now as a result of that. So let's just go ahead and sabotage some settlements. Get some more line of sight. Excellent. So not entirely sure what's the composition of that army, but we could sabotage the settlement as well. Excellent. Let's see. Alright, we're getting a pretty good line of sight over here up north, and more or less we can see the Morians as well fanning out, and that was really good battle. I'm really excited with that with that setup. As you can see, we performed really well. Our slingers performed amazing, as well as our Numidian cavalry. I mean, just how fast they were on the battlefield was unbelievable. They are just so quick. However, before we go ahead and end the turn, because I think I'm pretty much done for this turn, we are going to call in the new faction of Ecbatana against the war against the Parthians. And as you can see, Parthia is slowly but surely being chipped away at. However, that being said and done, I am going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We're going to stop the adoption. Some of our characters have leveled up. I'm not going to showcase that because we really want to focus on completing this episode as quickly as we can, and pretty much I will be doing that in the turn between the turns. Meanwhile, over here we can put Legio 20 Valeria Victrix into the boat and kind of move him into Britannia, which is the ultimate objective. However, over here up in the north we can keep pushing our armies from Prasva. We have secured that area, and we're going to keep moving into Sadrakarta. Meanwhile, we have some legions over here that we can keep pushing into or towards Ekbatana. Just a quick look, they can attack Ekbatana, so we have to be a little bit careful over there. What we can do is protect Ekbatana with Legio 15 Primigenia, move Legio 2 Italica as well as Legio 2 Parthica, the famous legion that is built towards destroying the Parthians. And meanwhile, down south over here, we can move Legio 2 Italica towards Raga. That is going to be the idea. We don't have a Parthian fleet down south here that can challenge Charax, so we are going to go ahead and build up Charax slightly. And we are going to move Imperator Augustus himself all the way up north into Parsa, and he's going to push into Hecatomb Pylos, and after that we should be able to push deeper into Parthia. However, that being said and done, what we really need over here, I'm not entirely sure if this army is going to take attrition, and it won't. It could attack this 33 stack, that could be another massive battle. However, we are just simply going to push towards Ra and towards Dakes, and over here we can just simply auto-resolve this one, and it should be a very favorable auto-resolve. Let's go ahead, release the faction, and so we have yet another faction that is friendly towards us, and perhaps they might even join the war against the Parthians. We can just check that out really quickly over here. Join the war against Parthia, and we're going to offer some payment in order for them to join that war. And they will not join. Maybe we can offer a lot of payment, and they will not join. So that is unfortunate. That is going to be the first faction that hasn't joined the war against Parthia. We could attack this army over here. It is 33 stack, and we do have an army that's kind of equipped to deal with Parthians, but we kind of have to see how that goes. I'm not entirely sure if I can take on those Parthians over there. Meanwhile, let's move Legio 1 AETERNA down south. We're going to keep pouring into Parthia itself. Parthia has begun sacking a few settlements over here. The Mauryaans, meanwhile, ended up sacking Marakanda, but not really conquering it, unfortunately. However, things are looking quite nice. They're shaping up really nicely, and I don't think we have much to do in this turn. We could attack this army. I'm not sure. I'm just going to see the auto-resolve. It's a pretty favorable auto-resolve, so I'm just simply going to auto-resolve this one because I really don't want to be fighting this army. It was actually a Horse Archer Doom stack. However, wow, we even ended up killing it. Insane. We're gonna move towards Sarmander and go and get into that patrol stand so that we replenish, and in the coming turns we should be able to attack Dakes. However, with that, I don't think there's much else to do in this turn, so I'm gonna go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We have some attrition due to the winter, and that's pretty much it. Meanwhile, Moria is still pushing into Parthia, attacking. Meanwhile, they could lose even Kath. They have a full stack up here in the north, led by their king, actually. So let's actually go up there and see what kind of army composition exactly does the king have. However, that being said and done, we could potentially attack this army over here. So let's move towards Raga, and we can move deeper over here. We can move Legio 7 Gemina down south over there. He should retreat, and we are going to send another legion into the area, keep pouring in our legions into Parthia, and eventually we're going to move up north and support the Morians in Kath. However, that being said and done, we can attack Dakes, and if they don't have a garrison, then we can easily auto-resolve this one, and we're going to go ahead and liberate the faction, which means we should be able to replenish, which is a great thing. And speaking of replenishment, this army is nearly replenished, so we can actually move further down south, try to attack that army. Shouldn't be able to retreat far enough, which means we can get an easy auto-resolve over there. Go ahead and slave all of them. Meanwhile, we can keep pushing with our other legion as well, Legio 15 Apollinaris. And now we have 3 legions in the north that can pretty much go down south and try to take Aktau. Meanwhile, during the end turn, what has kind of happened is that the Alana have offered to join the war against the Parthians, so that is definitely a good thing. We're going to try to make the Iste do the same thing. And let's see if they will actually join. And they will join for a considerable amount of payment, which is kind of great. Meanwhile, let's see if we can offer a defensive alliance. Never mind. Perfect. So we have made sure that the Parthians have lost control of the entirety of Scythia, and we are going to push into Chorasmia. However, that being said and done, what we can do over here down south near Mada is kind of push this army. It might retreat, and since it has retreated, we can actually easily attack that army. It's a bunch of horse archers. However, we're gonna have to see how that pans out. Meanwhile, we can sort of kind of push. I mean, I want to attack Hecatomb Palos, which we are going to do. It should be an easy auto-resolve. Meanwhile, we can move Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix up north over there. Hopefully he will not take any casualties. We're going to keep pushing our spies eastward, and we can even move this army really close in order to support the siege of Raga. And before we go ahead and do that, we are going to go ahead and attack this army. It's a fairly bad auto resolve, but I am going to quick save over here and fight this army, and I will see you all in the battle. Alright, welcome to another battle. We have Legio 2 Parthia facing off against the Parthians, and we have a bunch of Parthian light horse archers over here. We have a bunch of Parthian cavalry as well, and on the flanks we have a really good Parthian horse archers, the Parthian nobles basically. And these guys are really mean and tanky. We even have the Parthian cataphract horse archers, so these guys are even more beefy, and pretty much it's the same that's going on that right flank of the Parthian lines. So of course it's not going to be an easy battle, but we do have the famous Numidian auxiliary cavalry over here. They are extremely fast. They are speed 11. In fact, they should be a little bit faster because I did get some general abilities that improves their speed. And straight off the bat, we're going for that strategy we know kind of wins the battle. We have our auxiliary troops all the way in the front, and behind them in the gaps we have our cohorts of Legio 2 Parthia. Looking really nice, and all the way in the back we have our Balearic slingers, our Romanized Balearic slingers that we are going to be using to deal with the Parthian missile cavalry. That being said and done, the battle has initiated. We have started to throw in some of our slingers, and as you can see, they are firing against our own units, so we have commanded them to go into defensive formation so that they have a lot of armor. 60 armor is a lot, and they should be able to tank a lot of the enemy missile fire. However, that being said and done, we are also trying to gauge the situation here on the left flank. We notice a cavalry, a kind of shock cavalry, which is the general of the Parthian hired lancers, sorry, not the general. And he kind of gets caught in these spear units, and I take that as the opportunity to charge downhill and get a nice downhill charge against this unit. Meanwhile, on the right flank, we're just forming up. our cavalry in order to encircle the enemy cavalry, and straight off the bat we're getting a massive charge, a lot of casualties. You can just see them absolutely melt. We are absolutely demolishing their units over here, and this cavalry should be completely wiped out of the battlefield. Meanwhile, you can already see some horse archers in full retreat, and that is because our slingers are doing really well. As you can see, some slingers have almost even gotten 100 kills. And meanwhile, on the right flank, we're trying to push in our cavalry a little bit closer, trying to throw in our javelins into the Parthian cataphract horse archers, and they have also taken quite a bit of casualties. As you can see, javelins are doing really good against these cavalry units. They decide to kind of move away from my javelin units, but they can't really run away from Numidian cavalry that's extremely fast. On the left flank, we are hurling our javelins, and we're trying to catch up to these late Parthian nobles. They have a speed of 7, but we have a speed of 11, so we should be able to catch up to them. They will keep running, which means they will take a lot of damage trying to flee from us, and that is actually quite ideal. You can see we managed to rout out 2 units, and at the same time we are fighting out and wavering another unit. Meanwhile, on the right flank, you can see we are still continuing to throw in our javelins against this unit. I noticed that there is a melee cavalry, so I decide to send my Numidians charging into that melee cavalry, and it's pretty brutal melee charge. However, we have a full strength unit and they have a half strength unit, so they are going to definitely lose that engagement. Meanwhile, the rest of my Numidian cavalry wheels to the right and manages to capture or pin down a lot of the enemy cavalry units. Our slingers, however, continuing to fire against the enemy units, continuing to get those kills, those crucial kills against enemy missile cavalry, and that is definitely a very good sight for us to see. As you can see, we had a lot of enemy horse archers to deal with, but we are slowly but surely cutting them down to size right now, and very soon they shouldn't be able to do much against us, and they will pretty much have just a single front line that is isolated and will easily be charged at. Meanwhile, the general himself of the Parthians is attacking our swordsmen over here, and they are doing quite well. However, they have taken some casualties. And over here we are trying to cycle charge into the enemy cavalry units, trying to break them, and the things have kind of evened out over here. Meanwhile, this cavalry decides to run away from me, so I decide to actually push into these missile units. And as you can see, we have managed to pretty much capture a lot of the enemy cavalry, so we are going to keep charging into these units, trying to make them break, trying to destroy them decisively. And for the most part, you can see my Numidians haven't taken a lot of damage, with the exception of this one Numidian unit that has taken about 50% casualties, and that is due to a bunch of missile damage. So we try to be a little bit careful with that cavalry, which is why I kind of pull it away and decide to give chase to this cavalry to kind of get it out of the fight. One of the things to notice is that some of this cavalry has started to become a little bit tired, but not too tired, so we're still faster than the Parthian cavalry. And as soon as we get rid of this cavalry, we're going to charge into the cavalry over here. That's exactly what I think we end up doing. And we're continuously throwing in our pile into the unit, thereby causing even more casualties. You can see quite a few Parthians taking a bit of damage over there with that pile. And pila is actually really good against cavalry and any other kind of large unit like elephants and so forth, and chariots especially. So straight off the bat, we defeated yet another cavalry of Parthians. They just have about 2 cavalry left. Meanwhile, in the front line all the way over here, where the action's not that intense, we managed to encircle the enemy general, and we are constantly throwing our slingers, our pelting the general, as well as we just sent a spear unit to attack the general. So the general is losing decisively, he breaks completely. Our men cheer on as we have won the battle, and with that, I will see you all in the campaign. Alright, with that we have our second victory with Legio to Parthica against a predominantly horse archer composition, and we are going to go ahead and enslave all the captives. And we have ranked up as well with Legio 2 Parthica. So we can go ahead and get some abilities, maybe get the missile damage inflicted, which is quite important, as now we are going to basically auto-resolve at Hecatomb Pylos, release the faction. We're going to do the same at Raga, but what we want to do first is get out of, you know, the range of Raga, so that we can kind of replenish and not take further casualties. And now we're going to do the same with Raga. Go ahead, liberate the faction, so we have yet another ally in the region. And as you can see, we are pretty much doing the same thing what we did to Germania with Parthia. So that is obviously going to be great. Hopefully these guys will join, and they will not join the war. Maybe Comus might join. Ask them to join the war against Parthia, and they will also not join, but hopefully they will in the end turn as they did previously. And with that, I think we can go ahead and end the turn. But maybe we can actually move up Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix. So very quick look before we go ahead and end the turn. Just let's have a look at our tactical map overview. We can see we have taken out Parthia entirely. They just have two provinces over here, their original capital Nisa as well as Marv. Meanwhile, they have two provinces in Transoxiana. Not entirely sure what the Mauryaans are doing over there. Hopefully they will end up you know, wiping out the Parthians over here, and giving us a little bit of an advantage instead of having to face the entire might of Parthia itself. However, that being said and done, I'm going to go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future when I'm ready to attack Nisa, Marv, as well as shake the Parthians off Kath and even Aktau. Alright, welcome to the future. We're gonna turn off all of our notifications, and as you can see, the Mauryaans have managed to conquer a lot more of Parthian territory. However, they have lost Kath, and they might actually take Marakanda about this time. Basically, let's hope that happens. Meanwhile, the last remaining true Parthian resistance is up here in the north. They don't really have a very fantastic army. It's mostly melee troops. A few horse archers, but nothing our Legio 2 Numidica can't deal with. Regardless, we are going to keep marching up north in the hopes to kind of, you know, dislodge the Parthians from Kath. That being said, I think it is time to retreat all of our armies before we start, you know, draining out all the supplies in this area. So let's actually go ahead and do that. And perfect. And we want to put this army into the port over there. We have another army, Legio 1 AETERNA, can go towards Hatra, perhaps. And apart from that, not much else. We have Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix that can march up to the north. However, I could get some attrition, so I'm not interested in that. Instead, what I am going to do is I am going to march him all the way back towards Antiochia. And that's pretty much going to be it for the action as far as Imperator Augustus is concerned. However, that being said and done, we can move Legio IV Scythica towards Aktau, and we're going to do the same with our other legions as well. Keep bringing them down towards Aktau, and that way we should be able to deal with the Parthians in the next turn, hopefully. And we are already taking a bunch of attrition over here, so that's not looking good. Yeah. Anyways, that being said and done, I think I'm ready to go ahead and end the turn. See you all in the future when we are ready to wipe out the Parthians once and for all. Alright, welcome to the future. Faction has been destroyed because they kind of attacked our ally, and therefore we took out Hecatomb Palace and gifted it to the Mauryaans. Meanwhile, we're going to move Imperator Augustus back to where he belongs. And perfect. Go ahead. Wonderful. Excellent. Meanwhile, we can attack over here, Nisa, but the problem is they're really low on supplies, so we're gonna have to see how that kind of works out. So let's just move Legio 7 Gemina up there, and we're gonna move Legio 2 Parthica over there, and we should be able to attack them now. We're gonna move a little bit closer, and we are taking a bit of attrition, and should be a very easy auto resolve. We are going to go ahead and liberate the faction over here as well, and hopefully this means we do not take attrition, but we are kind of taking attrition, unfortunately. So pretty much what we are going to do over here is just go ahead and attack the settlement, and we're going to peacefully occupy it, and we're going to gift it to the Morians as well. So there we go. With that, we have wiped out all of the Parthian holdings, and things are looking quite good. Meanwhile, they do have a rebel stack over here, but they shouldn't be able to do much. Meanwhile, these Parthians over here will try their level best to attack over here. I'm not entirely sure if they should be able to. Maybe we can even assassinate them. That would be ideal. Let's have a quick look. This army is still taking some attrition. Let's move Legio 1 Minerva back towards Phanagoria, and we are going to move Legio 15 Apollinaris towards Tanais. So everything is looking quite fine. As you can see, pretty much in the next turn we will have completely wiped out all of the Parthian holdings, and we have a king over here that we can face, that we can fight, but maybe, just maybe we can assassinate him instead. And our character kind of got wounded in that attempt. We're going to send other spies up north, because we definitely want to finish off the campaign by assassinating this character. Meanwhile, the Parthian stacks really can't move all that much. So we are just going to stay put over here for a couple of turns, hopefully. And they don't attack this army or this settlement over here, because this is the only settlement that pretty much can be attacked by Parthia at the moment. And if it is attacked, then we are kind of outnumbered, because I kind of moved one army away from the settlement. However, that being said and done, let's go ahead, level up some of our characters. And I'm gonna pretty much see you in the future when we have wiped out the Parthian faction. Alright, welcome to the future. Pretty much over here Parthia has lost all of its holdings, and therefore they are taking quite a bit of casualties, and they are slowly but surely getting attritioned. Speaking of attrition, our own units are being also taking attrition, so let's actually move them towards Nisa so that they can replenish a little bit, and hopefully we can replenish a fair bit. They have a last army over here, has taken quite a bit of casualties, which means maybe we can attack it. Meanwhile over here we can move Legio 7 Gemina into that city of Ctesiphon. Legio 2 VICTRIX can move maybe over here. We can achieve it in just a single turn, so let's actually do that. Meanwhile, our Imperator Augustus has made it towards Ctesiphon, and we're going to try to move him all the way back towards Roma, just so that we can finish off the campaign. However, that being said and done, everything over here seems to be fine. What we have up here in the north is we do have a little bit of attrition issues plaguing our armies, so we're trying our level best to get out of the region as quickly as possible and prevent from taking any further attrition. However, over here, that's pretty much what we're going to do. Hopefully in the next couple of turns we should be able to move across into Ra, and hopefully Ra has better supplies, and it kind of does have a better supply, so we should not be taking a lot of attrition over there. That being said and done, looks like the Parthians could be killed off in this turn, and if they are, then that's going to be great news. Meanwhile, let's have a quick look at all of our provinces, and we can go ahead and upgrade these buildings over here. Excellent. think as far as other buildings are concerned, we are nearly done. And nothing much else to build. Fantastic. Alright, I'm pretty happy with the way our provinces are set up. We're making almost 500,000 dinari per turn. And very shortly, if we are successful in getting this assassination attempt sorted, we are going to pretty much, end the Parthians right here, right now. And with that, they are a little bit alive. I think that's maybe because they have a bunch of fleets over here. And that's a little bit problematic. Can't see their fleet, but it's somewhere, should be somewhere over here in the fog of war. There we go, that's where it is. Hopefully this Mauryan admiral is able to wipe it out, and with that we have pretty much going to be wiping out Parthia. That being said and done, this army should take a little bit more casualties, which means they are not going to be in a position to attack the Mauryans over here. So I'm pretty much, I think I can call it the end of the campaign, because, the Parthians are no longer a threat. Pretty much we have managed to conquer the entirety of Mesopotamia, and we have released a lot of single province or single region miners. Meanwhile, the Mauryans have managed to consolidate their rule in eastern Persia, and in the north in Scythia we have managed to release a lot of Scytho-Sarmatian factions. And I don't think there's much to showcase over here, so I'm not going to pretty much show all my armies marching back into their normal territories. That being said and done, this has been a very, very, very interesting campaign for me to play and to showcase it to you guys. I hope you guys all enjoyed it as well. That being said, let's quickly just also finish off these pirates, and they should retreat. And we can just simply auto-resolve this, and I can get back to talking about how I felt about the campaign, given my thoughts and opinions, and we can take it in from there. We can go ahead, upgrade the traditions to give even more ramming bonus and even more campaign range movement, as well as what can we have here? Maybe piracy. That's definitely going to be a good thing. There we go. Alright, with that, yes, I thank you all for watching, because, it has been a really pleasurable experience for me. I really, really enjoyed playing it, and a few things that I would like to mention is that, during the earlier parts of the campaign, I was playing with the realistic, expansion submod, which made for a very interesting playthrough and a very interesting fight versus Carthage. And pretty much after that, the realistic expansion submod was turned off. However, what ends up happening is that you end up with a much easier campaign later on if you use that submod. Another thing that I would like to mention is that, of course, I have played with a lot of unit caps. We have 39 legions in total of 41 stacks each. As you can see, our army upkeep is a 616,000 per turn, but we are making good economy using my strategy for economy, which I will explain in a bit. But what I have realized with playing with such a high army cap is that, towards the mid to late game, you become a behemoth, you become a monster, and no one can really stand up to you, and that kind of takes a little bit of the fun of the challenge. Because as you guys might have noticed in the past 3 or 4 episodes, we have pretty much been able to steamroll really powerful factions in the game, including the Ptolemies, the Parthians. They didn't really put up much of a fight. Thankfully, we did get to showcase some battles and how I basically counter their compositions. And so not all was lost, but a combination of realistic expansion submod in the early game as well as the high army caps make it very easy for me to expand into different territories. So in the future going forward, obviously I'm not going to play with the realistic expansion submod, as that is only made for a playthrough with Rome. But I am also not going to play with increased army caps, because I want a little bit more of a challenge, so that my next Let's Play series, which is going to be the Seleucids, since they have won the election, I will be playing with 41 stacks, but I will not be playing with an increased army cap. However, that being said and done, I am going to showcase my economy, my province setup, so that you guys can understand how things are done. And as you can see, Asia is making 240,000 denarii per turn. Egyptus is close behind at 230. Latium is almost at 200,000 denarii per turn, but keep in mind, Latium is not spec'd for min-max. I have just gone in for a historical build with the Circus Maxima as well as the Gladius and the Parthian, and pretty much these are overkill because all of them give a whopping 20 plus public order each. And as you can see, the public order in Latium is 117, which is absolutely insane. So you really don't need to build all three of them. You can either go ahead and build a tile factory, or you can even build, I believe a wine amphora. I don't know what exactly it's called. Forum Vinarium. There we go. And that can pretty much help with your economy further in Latium. Meanwhile, Africa Proconsularis is pushing 170,000 denarii per turn. Most of you who have seen my economic guide created by Talksburg on YouTube will know that I don't rate Africa as a S tier province. However, in this Let's Play series, considering the fact that I have so many armies and I needed to upkeep a lot of armies, I decided to include Africa Proconsularis in my economic output. And lastly, of course, we have Hellas that is pulling 154,000 denarii, and I do rate this as an S tier province because it has only 3 regions and is still pulling almost as much as Africa Proconsularis, and it's pulling about 70 to 80% of even the topmost provinces, with the exception of Asia and Egyptos, which in my personal guide I rate as the top 2 S tier provinces to have as any faction pretty much. However, that being said and done, let's hop into the different builds that I've done here in Latium. Of course, I've gone for that historical build. One of the key things to have in any economic province is, of course, your central slave complex, and of course to enable your commercial stimulation edict. Apart from that, you want to stack buildings that are particularly favorable to the province. In the case of Latium, you have a lot of agricultural buildings. That was why I've gone for a kind of agricultural build. Apart from that, I have built some commercial buildings. The Basilica of Mercury is a very good building because it kind of gives 20% wealth from all sources, so that is also a very good way, especially if you stack it up in all 4 regions. You can get 80% wealth from from all sources. However, the -10 taxation kind of offsets that, so in reality you get like a 40% wealth from all sources. However, that being said and done, we also go ahead and put governor generals in each of the regions, and if you have ports, then it's always advisable to use governor admirals instead, so that you have more army cap to raise more armies. However, with the governor generals themselves, you pretty much get skills that improve the tax rate, reduce the empire maintenance as well. I haven't got it over here because obviously my empire maintenance is 0 in the late game. However, you focus on the empire maintenance, taxation rate, as well as agriculturalist if you have an agricultural province, or adept tradesman if you have a commercial province. And since Latium is a bit of both, I have gone ahead and gotten both, although they kind of negate each other out a little bit, with the adept tradesman giving a debuff to your agriculture, as well as the agriculturalist giving a debuff to your industry and commerce. But overall, this buffs both or all 3 of the lines by 6%. And of course, you will get the sovereign, rightful sovereign, to decrease the banditry and increase the public order within the province. Apart from that, a dignitary in an economic province is the must. And once again, with the dignitary, you're going to focus on improving your tax rate, reducing your empire maintenance, and going for the different specializations depending on what kind of province you are dealing with. And right here in Latium, we've gone for commercial, industrial, as well as agricultural. However, in the most specialized province, especially Asia, for example, Asia is purely an industrial province. So we have gone ahead and built a lot of industrial buildings. We have opted for the Basilica of Vulcan, which gives 40% wealth from industry, since we don't really need the 20% wealth from all sources, because pretty much Asia has only industrial output. And 40% is a lot more powerful than 20%, and 40% times 2 in this case is 80%, offset by 10 negative 10 tax rate each, you're looking at about plus 60% wealth from industry. So basically, if I didn't have these two buildings, Asia would be probably producing close to just half about what it's producing right now. So these buildings are quite important, and you have to build your buildings based on what you are trying to specialize within the province. And speaking of specialization, you can even see some of the characters over here. They have kind of specialized only in the adept tradesmen. We haven't gotten the agricultural specialist because we don't have any agricultural buildings over here. Apart from that, as you can see, the household trades, I've focused on industry as well as tax rate and commerce and industry. You always want to focus on that. Meanwhile, with the dignitary himself, you can see we have focused on the commercial as well as the industrial, and that is pretty much how I managed to pull out a lot of income out of Asia. Meanwhile, Alexandria is a bit of both. It's commercial as well as industrial. That is why Egyptos is not as powerful as Asia, but it is quite powerful because you got two really good wonders, which is pretty much the same like Asia, but the wonders of Egyptos are much better in terms of benefits that they provide. So over here you can see that I've gone for a bit of both. I've gone for some industrial output as well as some commercial output. So pretty much, kind of gotten both. I might actually make more if I, kind of change this building into either a tile factory or maybe even an amphora factory. But you can test it out. It's not going to make much of a difference, especially you're just going to get about 10,000 denarii of difference. I mean, if you truly want to min-max, you can test it out for yourself. However, since we are focusing on both commercial as well as industrial, we have gone ahead and spec'd all of our governor generals and governor admirals for that very purpose. Meanwhile, as you can see over here, we have done the same with our dignitary. Finally, when it comes to Africa Proconsularis, you can see I've gone purely for an agricultural kind of a setup because Africa has really good agricultural buildings. As opposed to the Forum Venarium, I've created the Forum Capidenis as well as the Forum Boarium that gives extra wealth from agriculture. Meanwhile, I've also built a Horeum which gives extra wealth from agriculture, and to help with that public order, I have built the Nymphaeum. However, if you have a temple that improves both the public order as well as your agricultural output, then I highly recommend building that instead. Maybe as the Romans we kind of have that. I didn't really check it out, and I don't think we have that, but I believe as the Greeks you do have the Shrine of Hermes, which gives some agricultural bonuses, so definitely you might want to build that instead. Meanwhile, for the characters, obviously we are going to go with the agriculturalist and not the adept tradesman, and we're going to try to give as many bonuses as we can, including public order as well as other things that improve the taxation rate and so forth. Meanwhile, the dignitary himself is going to focus on agricultural stuff, and since you are focusing on agricultural, you can even get the farming expert, which gives additional food, growth per turn, and cunning, which is quite good. Especially considering you want to level up your provinces real quick. And speaking of leveling up your provinces real quick, you really need to have sanitation buildings. This should be one of your top 2 priorities, right up there with the slave trader complex. Finally, we have Achaia. Achaia once again is a little bit of a mix, but I have focused on industrial in this Let's Play series as I realized that industrial can pull out a lot more. Especially in Achaia, considering the fact that we have the port of Piraeus, which is basically an industrial building. Apart from that, you can build a couple of industrial buildings in Sparta itself, and pretty much it's a mini Asia, so to speak. That being said, I've covered pretty much all of my economic provinces, so let's just hop really quickly into our food provinces. Now, when it comes to food provinces, you want to stack up your latifundium or your level or your farm that gives plus 16 food. You want to focus on building fishing ports. You want to build as many temples as you need to improve the public order. The purpose of this province is not income generation, it's just to create enough food to offset your income province deficits. And apart from that, if you have the resource of fish as well as grain, you can go ahead and build a fish market, and the fish market gives additional 4 food for each fishing port you have. So I have 3 fishing ports over here, so that equals to 12 additional food. And of course, the fish market itself gives food of its own, I believe. I actually should build the enclosed fishery, not the fish market. So that's a little bit of a mistake. We can go ahead and convert that. So the fishery gives +6 food on its own, and it gives +6 food per fishing port. So basically what that means is that I get 18 additional food, including the 6 from the enclosed fishery itself. So that's an additional 24 food in Syracuse. Meanwhile, the same applies for the grain resource. If you build a granary complex, you get +3 foods from farm, which is also pretty powerful. Next up, of course, we have the Bosphorus as another food province. So over here, I could technically also dismantle this building since our food production is looking pretty good. I could go ahead and dismantle these buildings as well, since I don't really need them anymore, and this could kind of improve my food production in this province. I could build a Forum Copedennis to improve my food generation, and I could pretty much build a sanitation building over there. Meanwhile, I could dismantle this building and build a granary complex, which will pretty much give me additional food. So that's how you basically spec up your food province in the Bosphorus. And one of the most important things in your food province is that you want to issue the sell slaves edict, because you want your slaves to be as low as possible so that you don't get public order penalties from slaves. However, if you own the slave resource building and you have maximized its level, then you will get a -40% slave unrest, and that is pretty much all you need to counteract any public order issues from slavery. Slavery is one of the most important things, which is why I always loot and enslave all of my captives so that I can maximize my slave modifier, which in turn maximizes my economic output. However, that being said, we can have a look at our final food province, which is Britannia. And in Britannia, as you can see, we have gone ahead and built as many food buildings as we possibly can. And as such, as you can see, we have built a centralized ranch even that gives +10 food. Gone ahead, built some latifundium giving 16 food. We have all fishing ports. We have the Forum Copedennis as well as the Vigiles Urbani, which gives +20 wealth from agriculture. Not that it matters, because it is a food generation province, not an economic province, but being smart about what kind of sanitation building you want to build can actually make you earn a little bit more money from a food province. Apart from that, we have correctly built the enclosed fisheries over here, so that's giving us about 24 additional food. And if we go to our politicals panel and pretty much just see our food generation, you can see Britannia is making 97, meanwhile Sicilia is making 70, Bosphorus is making 48. Bosphorus can well make about easily 70 as well, considering the fact that of course we have built 2 buildings over here that actually consume a lot of food, -10, and we have another one that's causing -6. So definitely, you're talking about -16 food already. And if you build the the Forum Copedennis, you get +17. So you're talking -16 +17. That's approximately 33 food. So 33 additional food to what I believe was 48. So you're talking about 78 food can be produced here. And of course, if you build the granary storage, that's even going to jump higher. So that's basically how you want to go about structuring your food provinces. Meanwhile, as Rome, we have 2 different types of recruitment provinces. We have our core legionary recruitment provinces, and for that purpose I have selected Magna Graecia, Cisalpina, Illyricum, Bithynia at Pontus, Caucasus, Mesopotamia, and Narbonensis and Tarraconensis. Meanwhile, our auxiliary provinces were pretty much Lugdunensis, Aquitania, pretty much a lot of auxiliary provinces: Germania Minor, Germania Magna, Hercynia, Pannonia, Thracia, Moesia, Macedonia, Dacia, Mauritania, Caesariensis, Hispania, of course. We have even some over here in the east: Galatia, Cappadocia, Syria, as well as Armenia, and pretty much a lot of them have been spec'd in a very typical style. And as you can see, let's just take Magna Graecia for example. Basically what you want to do is you want to stack the buildings that give you the population class you need for your playthrough. And as Rome, since majority of your infantry comes from the third class population, you want to maximize your third class population. As you can see, all of these regions have a lot of third class population. We have 65,000 proletari in Beneventum, we have 74,000 in Cosentia, and we have 67,000 in Brundisium. So there's absolutely going to be no problem recruiting those core legionary troops, and for that purpose you have to select the buildings very carefully. As you can see, the level 4 barracks gives +1 to your third class population building, meanwhile the circus gives +0.7, the Forum Borarium gives +2%. Of course, the cattle ranch gives another +1%, and of course the Valedudinarium, I'm just going to call it the public field, gives you an additional +0.3%. So that's pretty much how you arrange your core Roman provinces. Meanwhile, when we have to talk about our non-core Roman provinces where we're gonna recruit auxiliary troops, as you can see over here in Hispania is a good example. And the reason I'm giving Hispania as an example is that it does have Latin as its dominant culture. But if you can, then pretty much I think a lot of these places now have Latin as their dominant culture, with the exception of course Raetia at Noricum still has Celtic as its dominant culture. So the number one thing you need to do is you need to try your level best to reduce your dominant culture, because in these provinces you need Peregrini, which is your foreign population class. And if you have your majority culture, as you can see as the third lowest table, you can see region majority culture, we're getting -1 to our fourth class population. Meanwhile, we're getting +1 to all other population, which is kind of counterintuitive for an auxiliary recruitment province. Meanwhile, if we compare Raetia at Noricum, you can see that we're getting +2 of our fourth class population, -3 and -2 for the first, second and third class population respectively. So ideally you want to try your level best to have foreign culture over here, but it's very tough to do, especially in the end game. It should be foreign population, considering the fact that of course the influence of Iberian is really high. However, it isn't, but even so, I've gone ahead and built a lot of immigration centers to give Iberian cultural influence an edge. And apart from that, I have built even a Forum Venerium, which gives +3 to foreign population class. Each auxiliary garrison also gives +1.5 to your fourth population class. And even the Emporium or the trading ports give additional foreign population class. And you kind of don't want to upgrade your main settlement buildings because they do not give you foreign population class, and instead they give you first, second and third class population boosts. So if you have a look at the foreign population class, you can see in Carthago Nova we have 72,000 Peregrini, in Saguntum we have 51,000 Peregrini, in Abyssus we have 28,000 Peregrini, and in Numantia it's a little bit low, but it's very tough to manage it. Numantia we ended up conquering much later. However, these three regions we had conquered quite early in our campaign, right about episode 6-7, and still all the way towards the end of the campaign, which is about 350 turns later, they still have enough proletary to supply all of my legions. Meanwhile, over here you can see in Augustodunan, same thing, we have a lot of Peregrini. In Cenabum, once again a lot of Peregrini, so we have pretty much a lot of Peregrini everywhere. Vesuntio, it's all stacked up in a way that we have a decent amount of Peregrini. If you look at Tuliforodum, for example, 69,000. So that's pretty much what you want to do. You want to have your recruitment province support your population class. However, that being said and done, I think we have covered up pretty much how I set up my provinces. Just a final look at the Roman Empire that we have established. We're going to select that map mode so that we can have an idea of what we have established. We have managed to cut down at Parthia, secure our eastern frontier, hold on to Mesopotamia, thereby reaching the maximum extent of the Roman Empire under Trajan himself. Meanwhile, in the north, we have managed to secure the Elbe River, Carpathian mountain range, which was very crucial for Rome because it kind of reduces their overall front line as opposed to the Rhine river. Let's use the red one, as opposed to the Rhine river, Danubian river front, which is a lot longer and a lot more, has a lot more curvature. So this is a more simpler border. And finally, we have also managed to secure the entirety of Britannia, thereby eliminating any threats from the Picts and the Irish to, of course, our holdings in Britannia. So pretty much this Roma will last forever. That is the dream. That was kind of like the objective of this series. Apart from that, if you look at the situation as far as the faction ownership is concerned, we have gone ahead and we have broken up the Germanic tribes, we have broken up the Scythians and Sarmatians, we have even broken up the Persian tribes, and the only contiguous kingdoms that could possibly challenge us are the Mauryan Empire and to a certain degree Arabia Magna. But of course, if we could defeat the mighty Parthians, we could defeat the Ptolemies that were much larger in size, then we should have no problem defeating these guys, as you can tell. However, that being said and done, really getting emotional because this has been such a long series, and I thank all of you for being so patient and watching it right from the start all the way through the finish. I hope you really enjoyed, and if you like the video, then like the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you are interested for more. Roma, AETERNA, VICTRIX.